I wouldn't be surprised if whatever's eating my face is made its way into my brain, and it's possibly eating my brain. Dude, it's just crazy. If you don't have health insurance, the shit you'll put up with, man. Like, this is not normal. This is not how it should be. And I still don't have health insurance, so I'm just gonna go to the emergency room tomorrow. And I hate to do that, because it's not like I won't get charged. I'll get charged a lot. I'm gonna walk out with a $20,000 bill probably. But this is how it works here in the land of the free, home of the brave. It's a great place. Just don't get sick. Don't be brown, and don't have any left-wing ideas. All right, so this is Voidzilla. They're literally covering up the Epstein files. Let's see what he has to say.
Breaking the law with the Epstein files. They were supposed to release all of them. They did not.
Why did that sound like it started in the middle of a sentence?
The government is breaking the law with the Epstein files. They were supposed to release all of them. They did not. They were supposed to explain redactions. They did not. They were supposed to have limited redactions that did not allow them to redact on the basis of embarrassment or for politically exposed people. They did that. They redacted actual people who were investigated in the Epstein case, not just the victims. And this is in violation of the bipartisan law that Donald Trump signed only months ago. It's a law called the Epstein Transparency Act, and I've excerpted a few bits of it for you, where specifically they could not redact all the files. They had to release all of them by a certain day, which they missed. They didn't hit that deadline. They said they needed more time to review. But of the stuff we've already gotten, they've redacted more than they were supposed to. The law says that they can't redact on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, political...
Is Voidzilla not kind of late to the party on this one? Wasn't this like a while ago? Anyway, still, I mean, I'm glad. It's actually better that he's bringing it up now, because now is the time that everybody's supposed to just forget about it. We're bombing Iran. We're stealing presidents. America. Let's talk about how impressive that military operation was. Isn't that weird? Everyone's talking about how impressive it was, and I think that's weird because it's just not the type of thing where you typically do that. It's like witnessing a crime and then being like, that was done really well though. That kidnapping, in and out, good shit. But yeah, obviously, dude, so blatantly obviously, Trump is gonna be all over the Epstein files, and you want to know the honest truth of how I feel about this? I don't think that this, I mean, honestly, at this point, if this is the thing that's going to do it for you, if this is the thing that's going to snap you, out of the true Trump derangement syndrome, which is Trump supporters, MAGA people, these people are insane. They're absolutely insane. If this is what it takes for you, if none of the other stuff he's done quite broke the illusion for you, and you need to know that he's a creep and a pedo, then great. I mean, to me, this is just one thing on a very, very long list of terrible shit. So, and it's one of the ones that affect the American people the least, as far as like, I mean, this isn't attached to any I don't know. God, my fucking face hurts. Okay, let's watch this video.
Basically, they can't just say like, oh, we don't like that guy's name is coming out. They only can redact on the basis of like national security or if it's a victim. And even if they do redact, they have to explain why they did so. They have to give a summary of redactions made, including the legal basis. And they did not do that either. Not only did they make redactions that clearly in the context are not victims at all, but rather possible perpetrators, they're redacting possible perpetrators, but they also haven't explained anything they did redact. And on the DOJ website, you can see that they are just not interested in following the law here, because they say they're going to redact personal information pertaining to victims, which is according to the law. Then they say other private individuals, but
the Trump regime does not care about the law. They break the law every fucking day.
That, again, is not what the law says. The law makes no provision for that. So the DOJ has sort of taken the law that was passed and kind of just like reinterpreted it, and even still, they're not complying with it because, as I said, they're supposed to release everything by a certain day. Here's the status of that. So far, 2.4% of the total pages that are under review have been released. They say they have, and I'm not even kidding, 5 million pages of documents related to Epstein. They also say they have 2 million documents.
Okay. Who the fuck was this guy, dude? 5 million pages? What? That can't be right, dude. That cannot be right. 5 million pages? How could that possibly be possible? That actually blows my mind.
Under review, so far they've released 12,000. And a lot of those were entirely redacted with no explanation, right? Like, against the law, no explanation of this. But what's crazy, and like what I can't wrap my head around is, my entire life, I was led to believe Congress like had some power or were able to do things. They made laws and you had to follow those laws, right? That's really important, to follow the laws Congress passes. But maybe not. We're seeing that the DOJ is really testing that here, because theoretically, who would enforce the laws that Congress is, making? Probably the DOJ.
This is why we're fucked, okay? Trump is replacing everybody with his cronies, so the whole balance of powers, checks and balances, this stuff that is extremely important and integral to America and how it works, he's doing away with all that. And there's still people sucking his balls. Even though none of this is going to benefit you in any way. Unless you're a billionaire elite, you should not be celebrating any of this. Honestly, that to me is the most sad and disgusting thing. To see powerful and rich people being disgusting is not that surprising. I mean, obviously this is a brand new low. I mean, this is extremely worse than any other president we've had. At least, I mean, I don't know. In my lifetime, I guess. But like seeing American people celebrate this guy and like idolize him, it's so fucking pathetic, dude. It's so pathetic and gross. And that's one thing you gotta say for actually, there's several things you could say that make it pretty clear that leftists are superior to right-wing people, to be honest. But one of those things is that you never ever see just blind, unconditional loyalty and praise to any Democratic leader. That's because no one should be acting like that about any of these people. They're supposed to work for us, and it's pretty well established that they're gonna kind of do everything they can to not work for us. So the attitude should really be very, very critical, keeping a close eye, but instead people are just like worshiping him, and it's just like, what the fuck? You don't see that on the left. You don't see that. Like, Bernie had a lot of support, but it wasn't like he could just do whatever. You know what I mean? These MAGA people are, fuck, dude, they're the absolute worst, man.
Justice. What if the Department of Justice isn't following the law? Who is going to get them in trouble? Because Pam Bondi is just flagrantly disregarding and reinterpreting some of the laws here, and there is a challenge to this in court And the DOJ basically wrote in court that, well, actually, even if we did violate this, maybe there's no cause of action here. We aren't responsible for any of this because there was a petition of the court to appoint something called an independent monitor and special master. Specifically, this was to force them to comply with the law. This was written by a Republican and Democrat, and it says, put simply, the DOJ cannot be trusted with making mandatory disclosures under the act, and essentially they have to put someone independent in charge of this whole event. And the Department of Justice wrote in today that they don't believe there's a cause of action here by the Epstein Transparency Act. So even if there is a consequence, if a statute does not specify a consequence for noncompliance with statutory timing provisions, the federal courts will not in the ordinary course impose their own coercive sanction. So what exactly can they get in trouble with if they don't comply with this? If they just redact whatever they want, they don't provide a summary of what they redacted, they redact people they shouldn't have redacted, who is going to get them in trouble? I mean, basically they're arguing to a court. They're like, well, they didn't say what's going to happen to us if we didn't comply with it. So that's kind of on them. It's actually amazing to watch the flagrantness in which they do this. It's so brazen. I want to play a clip of one of the Republicans who actually wrote this whole appointment of an independent monitor. He talks on breaking points about, what their goal is. And I just think it's worth listening to.
Pam Bondi is violating the law. She missed the December 19th deadline. She missed the deadline 15 days after that, where they had to justify redactions and give Congress a list of politicians who were involved in the Epstein files. So they missed 2 deadlines. But I'm concerned more about what they're redacting and what they're withholding than I am about these deadlines. And that's why we've asked this judge to appoint a special master. It's might makes right. They're doing this. They're disobeying the law because I think they're trying to test and see if there's any way it can be enforced.
That's exactly what they're doing. They're like half complying with the law, but specifically not with the parts that actually matter. And then they're telling the court, well, there's no cause of action to force us to actually do it.
Honestly, at this point, I think they're past the phase of testing the limits. They're just doing whatever they want now. This isn't like a test. They're not going to do what they said they were going to do. They're not going to release these files. They're not going to release anything that, paints the supreme leader in a bad light, because that's what he wants to be, and that's what all of this is. This is a dictatorship. This is, it's what we see all over the world, and it's what made America exceptional being stripped away from us. And half the country is celebrating that.
And who ultimately is going to stop them? Who's going to prosecute the government? The government won't. I mean, what are we talking about here? And what's interesting about this is that clearly not everybody is happy about this. This has actually been hugely humiliating for people who basically ran on the whole, we're going to release the Epstein files. Remember Dan Bongino, the guy who's been humiliating himself on national TV saying like, oh, I looked at the files.
I've seen the whole file. He himself.
But also the guy who a few years ago was like, dude, we have to look into the Epstein files.
There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and
all of these people run on complete bullshit, including Trump, especially Trump. No more wars, right? Fucking, they say whatever they need to say, man, to get into power, and then they don't work for the people. They work for their own interests and the interests of very, very wealthy people. And guess what? Very, very wealthy people are Jeffrey Epstein, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, all of these people.
Of people out there.
Well, he apparently was thinking about resigning amid the Epstein fallout after the July 5th memo disaster, and then actually did resign. The announcement was a few days before the final release of the Epstein files, the latest deadline. He decided he was going to resign on that day. This is his last post about it. It was a busy last day on the job. This will be my last post in my account. Tomorrow, I will return to civilian life. And honestly, I can't think of a more humiliating thing to happen to somebody, to go into public office and be like, we're going to fight the deep state, and then leave having done nothing to fight the deep state. Literally, this guy has the cringiest post. Like, what I have learned has shocked me to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I learned. Dog, what did you learn? Tell us. If you actually know something, if you actually found something in your investigation in the year that you investigated the government, say it. Don't go back to your podcast making millions of dollars. Why don't...
Maybe he just learned what any fucking person who is willing to, remove Trump's balls from their mouth learns. Which is that this is a fucking horrible, horrible leader. And everything they're doing is terrible. They're not serving the American people. I mean, I don't know. It's not like he would have had to have seen some super secret document to be completely disillusioned and disheartened, right? So maybe he just took Trump's balls out of his mouth and thought clearly, and maybe that's what he's talking about. That's what he learned.
Actually do something about it. Or when you are back at your podcast making millions again, why not tell everybody what happened? But we're not going to see that. We're going to see him continue to suck up to this administration, of course, even though it has betrayed the very thing that he came to the government for. Now, finally, I'll just say that I have to give a special mention to the Clintons, who are trying to do their own little weaseling out of the law maneuver. Because I don't know if you guys remember, the Clintons issued this whole statement that, oh, we don't need protections from the Epstein files, just let everything out. And everyone was like, yeah, sure, that's fine, we don't care. Literally, lock them all up, whoever's involved. And they said as much, basically they said, we need no such protection. And then Bill Clinton came out and was like, yeah, actually, we're not gonna comply with that subpoena you guys issued. Because Congress was like, hey, you gotta come testify. And they were like, no, we said we don't need protection, but actually, we're not gonna show up. And that was also a bipartisan thing, by the way, subpoenaing the Clintons.
I think everyone knows by now Bill Clinton did not show up. And I think it's important to note that this subpoena was voted on in a bipartisan manner by this committee. This wasn't something that I just...
Man, fuck all these people, especially this bitch right here. Like, Trump has escaped all culpability or he's escaped all repercussions for illegal things that he's done and continues to do, and none of these people care. I mean, come on, guys. Doesn't this shit gross anyone else out? Like, if you're just mad at the people on one side, even though both sides are doing the same shit, I mean, in this case, you know, like, is Trump getting subpoenaed to testify about Epstein shit? Like, what the fuck, dude? Fucking shut the fuck up. It's all fucking fake, dude.
Issued as chairman of the committee, this was voted on by the entire committee in a unanimous vote of the House Oversight Committee to subpoena former President Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Now, Hillary Clinton's supposed to show up tomorrow. We'll see what happens there. But with respect to the former president, he did not show up today.
And so they might hold Clinton in contempt. I mean, I don't actually believe it. I will not believe anyone will face any charges for this, any problems for this ever, until I see it. I have such little faith in our government, given how apparently super focused we are on protecting the people in these files. We're so focused on it that I don't believe for a second that Clinton, that Trump, anybody, nobody's going to get exposed, nobody's going to get locked up. It's clear that the DOJ will break the law to make sure that they don't expose anybody, ironically, breaking the law with relation to Jeffrey Epstein, except for Jeffrey Epstein himself. That's the only guy that will face any consequences for this. Obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell is in the nice club fed now. She's not suffering as much anymore. She's running the place over there. Epstein's that who's facing accountability? It's actually crazy. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about this. I wanted to flag the fact that the DOJ is basically making the argument that, like, there's no way, even if we didn't comply, you could ever force us to comply, which is, you know, a crazy thing to say. But maybe we should have expected it, given that Pam Bondi has been literally running on this promise since early on. Someone found this old clip of her.
Florida ranks third nationally in calls for help for human trafficking, where young women and children are enslaved and abused. I knew we needed all hands on deck. And I'll fight to put human trafficking monsters where they belong, behind bars.
I mean, let's give it up for Pam. She has been keeping human trafficking monsters behind bars.
Oh lordy, I wonder if Fox News is covering Epstein stuff at all right now. 1 month ago, 3 weeks ago. Hold on.
He trusts Trump on everything else, and he's delivered. Why would he suddenly depart from that?
Oh my God. is no one else like just at this point, like, how the fuck do you listen to any of these people? How do you trust any of these people? It boggles my fucking mind.
Given his record, we can trust he's making the right call. And I get it. We invested a lot in this. But we were also led astray. We were told that there was a client list. But take it from Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's lawyer. He says Epstein never had one.
Yeah, take it from Alan Dershowitz.
Is he right? It's a valid point. Who keeps a list of the crimes that they commit?
Wow. So because there's not a clear client list, then Trump is obviously doing the right thing by redacting fucking everything. What the hell are you talking about? Jesus Christ. Check this out. Scott Jennings has his own YouTube channel now. What a cool guy. All right. Let's see.
You make jokes about people in prison in El Salvador. I mean, these things they speak to the heart of Americans and what we see people are going through. It's not a political standpoint to me. We try to see the humanity in people, and it doesn't seem like people on the right side are capable of that. This is what people voted for. We knew very well who Trump was during the first term, where he had the family separation policy, where he was putting children in cages. People voted for that again and again. I'm done pretending.
So this is when they've stopped trying to, fake any of this. They don't care. They don't care. And I guess that's cool now, right? If you make any appeal to humanity, you're just lame, right? You're just lame. It's fucking disgusting, dude. It's fucking disgraceful.
That there are people out there who will see this and be outraged by it. The polling numbers.
Fuck you, Scott Jennings. Fuck you. You're a piece of shit.
No, that's not true. People will say they don't like it, but they showed up to the voting booth and voted for him again and again. Of nearly 70,000 people in ICE custody right now, less than, I believe, 10% have criminal convictions. I mean, the data shows time and
Dude, she's spitting facts. I said the same thing the other day. They got the criminals on day one. So I guess just tuning out reality is cool now. Celebrating a dictator who doesn't respect the Constitution, who doesn't respect checks and balances, who does whatever the fuck he wants. That's cool now. That's what America's all about now. That's... What the hell has happened to us, man?
Right away, they call me a communist. They call me a socialist. You're not a conservative. You're not MAGA.
That's what people say. You cannot be that. Time out. You cannot be MAGA and Mamdani. Why not? Why can't you be? To me, it's the most natural thing in the world.
When Zohran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, met with Donald Trump in the Oval Office, it wasn't supposed to go well.
The president has been repeatedly referring to him as a communist.
But then?
Congratulations, Mr. Mayor. The better he does, the happier I am. We'll be helping him to make everybody's dream come true.
People started looking at me like I was a fortune teller, like I had somehow told the future, and I started believing it.
Something strange is happening in New York City. A new group of voters is emerging, and they're quietly challenging our most basic assumptions about politics.
What box would you put me in? I wouldn't say really any box at this point.
In 2024, New York shifted to the right, more than it had in decades. Just a year later, the city swung back to the left, electing its first ever socialist mayor. But here's where it gets weird. Some of the same voters were part of both waves.
A lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that.
If politics is all about which team you're on, this kind of thing isn't supposed to happen.
I mean, did you see the guy who has the MAGA from Mamdani hat?
So who are these voters? What are they after? Are they just outliers? Or are they a preview?
This is kind of interesting. I would like to know how it's fucking possible to be pro-Trump and pro-Mamdani? Sorry.
whatever comes next.
I'm just trying to figure out what's up with these highly weird election results. How you doing? You got thoughts on these too?
Let's talk Trump and
Mamdani.
Who the fuck is that?
Finding Trump and Mamdani voters was never going to be easy.
You got thoughts on Trump and Mamdani?
According to exit polls, about 1 in 10 Trump voters in New York also voted for Mamdani.
Hi, guys.
Which may not sound like a lot, but in politics, those kind of margins can swing elections.
Quick question, I got 5 minutes. 1 in 10 New Yorkers who went for Trump also voted for Mamdani. Like, how do you make sense of that?
I have no idea. I definitely did not. It does not make sense.
Time out. So basically, you're a hypocrite at that point. Like, I mean, if you did, there's something, you got a screw loose.
So when I go, MAGA for Mamdani makes me cry. My friend who's a Republican goes, that's the line I like. MAGA for Mamdani makes me cry.
Ron Barba is an actor, a stock trader, and the unelected leader of MAGA for Mamdani.
I think a lot of people, right from the jump, they look at MAGA for Mamdani and it's confusing.
That was the most beautiful thing when I showed up at the rally, is to see the faces of them.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no. Boom, a home run right from the get-go.
We had someone come to our Forest Hills rally with a hat that said MAGA Mamdani.
Different news outlets asking me questions about it.
Literally, that's one of those moments where I was like, is this AI or not? Because you never know these days, but he's real. Like, yeah, this is real.
People taking pictures with me immediately, and people started commenting, this guy's sick, this guy can't be MAGA, what am I looking at? I don't know why it was natural to me. That is where you could go do the psychological, analysis of me.
It's easy to dismiss Ron as an outlier, and in a way, he is. Most Trump to Mamdani voters live in working-class immigrant communities across the city, and many belong to a group that the Democratic Party has been losing for years.
What's up, brother?
Young men.
I was not born here. I was from Sri Lanka. I just became a citizen. So.
Hey, congratulations. If you were a citizen, would you have voted for Donald Trump?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you voted for Mamdani?
Yeah, Mamdani, yeah, obviously.
What's up with that? Help us understand that.
I mean, they both want the same thing, affordability.
Affordability. Everybody's talking about it. And in New York...
Okay, so if you voted for Trump... Okay, well, whatever. I don't want to be, super negative about this because... I mean, the fact is, most people don't have the time or the interest to look beyond the very surface of things. So I guess to them, they say that they want the same things because Trump literally just promised everything. It's gonna, I'm gonna fix everything. Day one, I'm gonna fix everything. Everything's gonna be affordable. We're gonna have the strongest military. No new wars. But he just said everything. But it is kind of sad that, if you just take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to look into this stuff a little bit more, you'd see that one person is guaranteed not to help the working class, not to help affordability. So just because they're saying the same shit doesn't mean they're the same. They're very, very different. Trump is absolutely in service of billionaire oligarchs and corporations. If you don't fucking know that by now, I don't know what to tell you, man. I don't know. Just take 5 fucking minutes. Do some research.
It's impossible to ignore.
New York is expensive as fuck. Let's start with that.
My rent right now is like $4,000 for a 3-bedroom.
$4,000 for a 3-bedroom?
Everything's going up. The food's going up. Rich people get rich and poor people get poor.
What's it like raising a family when that's so expensive?
Exhausting.
When I was a teenager, I really bought into this American dream. That small house, family, white picket fence. And the older I got, the more I realized that was reality of the 1950s and 60s, not necessarily anymore.
Christian Spariosu has lived his whole life in a rent-stabilized apartment in Queens. His dad's a cab driver, mom's a house cleaner, and he makes $20 an hour working at his local gym. Christian's politics are complicated.
During the 2016 election, I was super pro-Trump. I would watch all of his speeches on TV.
The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people.
Even though I couldn't vote,
I mean, that right there, it's hilarious. Trump is gonna get rid of the corrupt establishment. Bullshit, dude. He's made everything so much more corrupt. I don't know, man.
Super fond of him. Trump is the best. He's gonna change America for the better. This economy's gonna work for everyone.
And we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
When I went to college, I was the president of the senior college.
All right, so I'm just making a prediction. I like to make my predictions. My guess is that every MAGA for Mamdani voter just has very, very limited understanding of what's going on. They're probably going to say stuff like this guy saying, oh, I loved Trump's speeches. I find Trump to be charming. all this superficial stuff. I don't think it's going to go beyond that, because how could it? They're not compatible with each other.
Republicans for a few years. We did a lot of stuff with Turning Point USA. Yeah, so this one I got when I got invited to go to CPAC in the beginning of 2020. I got to see the president speak. I got to meet many folks such as Charlie Kirk, and he's someone who really got me into politics because, freedom. It was just a phenomenal time. And during that time in CPAC, every year they have a certain theme.
Let's talk about socialism.
Like, socialism is evil, and I really bought into this. I'm like, this is like the worst thing ever. Like some of these countries, like Sweden, for instance, Scandinavia, like I thought like they weren't doing so well.
You thought Sweden wasn't doing well?
I studied abroad in Japan for my last year of college. That opened my eyes to how not every country is like America. There was one point in Japan I had to go to the hospital for a medical emergency. They have universal health care in which the government pays 70% of the cost, you pay 30% of the cost. It's a done deal. Just out of pocket, I paid somewhere between like 30 to 50 bucks for like a full day, and I got world-class care I'll never forget.
Okay, so already, dude, this is completely incompatible with supporting Trump. So I don't think this is a real thing. These are just people that are fucking ignorant as fuck, no offense to this guy. And for whatever reason, they haven't been able to be honest with themselves. Like, actually voting for Trump was a bad idea. Supporting Trump was stupid. Because now I understand that every other country in the world that, you know, is a well-developed country like the United States has universal fucking healthcare, dude. Come on, guys.
It just goes to show that we're not number one in many ways. When it comes to America first and being for the people, I don't think
that's work to do.
Yeah, I think we have plenty of work to do, personally.
Christian first crossed paths with Zoran 2 years ago after a heavy storm flooded his kitchen.
So my roof started leaking. For about 3 months, I would ask my landlord, please fix it. He didn't want to do it because...
He's a landlord?
Yeah, he's just a landlord. Kept calling 311, which is like the city hotline for help, and no one ever responded to me.
But then, Christian called up Zoran's office.
A couple days later, an inspector actually came, cited a couple safety violations, and because of the fines that the landlord received, he was forced to fix my leak and provide me more heat. Whoa. And that was the first time a politician actually did something for me. I would say when that happened, Zoran, he really earned my respect. He just caught my eye in general. He was pulling out like less than 1% when he started running at the beginning of 2024. And during that first Democratic debate, there was a question that was asked.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
Almost every single one of these candidates said,
I would visit the Holy Land. I would go to Israel.
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel. My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel.
Mr. Mamdani.
Zoran, he was the only candidate that said,
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
And that was the answer that you would think is common sense, but every single one of these candidates said a foreign country, which is just crazy. I admire these folks that go against the grain, and that's part of the appeal of Trump to me initially, how he was considered an outsider.
When Trump won in 2024, Zoran broke from the script again, heading to Fordham Road in the Bronx, a neighborhood that had swung hard toward Trump.
And who did you vote for?
Trump.
Trump. Donald Trump. I voted for Trump. When I asked those New Yorkers why did they vote for the president, they told me again and again it was cost of living, cost of living, cost of living.
Him freezing the rent for every rent-stabilized tenant, if he can actually do that, that'd be phenomenal. That would help a lot of people, because a lot of people are getting priced out of the story because of the gentrification, just all over New York. I think economics and affordability, that's what wins elections.
It appealed to you?
Yeah, it appealed to me. Like, I think one of the most conservative things you can do is trying to get people to have a family with no-cost childcare. Like, being able to have a family and afford to have kids. How is that?
That's not conservatism anymore, bud. They changed the script. You're not pro-Trump. I don't know why this is being... I don't know how... Like, is this guy gonna say, like, how he justifies supporting Trump still? Does he still support Trump? And then what about that other guy, the MAGA for Mamdani guy? Is he just doing... Like, it seems like he's just doing that for attention because it's blatantly fucking stupid. These two politicians could not be more different. So I don't know.
Conservative.
So these guys, Trump and Mamdani, very different people, both talking about affordability. How do you tell who means it and who to trust?
I don't know. Superman and the Justice League ain't real, so like I don't know who the hell gonna help us for real.
There's a lot of politicians, when they get in charge, they try to change the whole system. We just saw that with Trump, right?
I saw very quickly, within like a couple months of his second term in office, how he's not prioritizing the American people. He cares more about bailing out Argentina for however many $1 billion, sending so much foreign aid to Israel. Okay, so you're not for Trump and Mamdani.
You just woke up, got some common sense, and now you understand that Trump is a bastard. I mean, yeah, I'm glad that happened. I hope that happens to fucking everyone in this country. It's about time.
Homeless people here, people struggling, the economy's not doing good. I'm really hoping Zoran sticks to his promises because I think a lot of Americans are fed up with the two-party system. It seems to be working for the millionaire and billionaire class, the top 1%, as opposed to the shrinking middle class and the working class.
Yes.
On a cold January morning, Zoran Mamdani stood on the steps of City Hall and promised a new chapter for New York City.
This will not be a tale of one city governed only by the 1%. It will be a tale of 8.5 million cities, each of them a New Yorker with hopes and fears.
It was an ambitious promise that every New Yorker could be an author of that next chapter.
Few of these 8.5 million will fit into neat and easy boxes. Some will be voters who supported President Trump a year before they voted for me.
So now comes the test. Can this coalition of Trump voters, liberals, and socialists actually take on an economic order that's pushed so many to the edge in America's richest city? And what would it mean for the rest of the country if they did?
As Americans, we can realize it's not Republican versus Democrat. It's more of like a class war. Regardless of your political identity, race, religion, gender, the middle class is shrinking, becoming obsolete, income inequality.
Yes. Yes. Good job, buddy.
It's
Proud of
getting
you.
larger and larger by the year. People are going to unite and then say, we're done with this.
For too long in our city, freedom has belonged only to those who can afford to buy it. Our city hall will change that.
That, or we're going to need to send a lot more young men to Tokyo.
Japan had changed me in many ways, because if I didn't go there, I don't know how I would be politically, I don't know where I would be in my life. I've always thought like money would buy happiness and all this stuff. And then I realized there's more to life, and how in a country like Japan or some of the Scandinavian countries, they don't have to worry about bills as much, they don't have to worry about medical debt. I got to see this social safety net, and I wish folks could go there and see firsthand, and then come back and call me a communist.
Bro, you're not pro-Trump anymore, okay? You woke up. This isn't a thing. There's no crossover there. If you believe in these simple common sense things like affordability, universal health care, then you're not pro-Trump. Trump is literally gutting social services and just making this wealth divide worse and worse. And he demonizes poor people. What the fuck, dude? This is not a thing. The only people that voted for Trump and Mamdani, I'm sorry to say this, except for examples like this guy, are people that just don't fucking... They don't do any research at all. That was so lame. There was there's literally no explanation of how there's a crossover. There was no explanation. The guy in the beginning, he's just like, oh, I wear crazy pants and wear a hat that says MAGA for Mamdani for attention, because that doesn't make sense. So, okay, what the fuck? Young men don't like the Democrats. Hey, let's see if anything they say about the Democrats isn't also completely true, probably even more so, about Republicans. This will be fun.
Trump and
I just... It's so crazy to me that somehow when people figure out, like, oh, the Democratic Party is not good, that somehow in their head means that the Republican Party is good, when everything bad about the Democratic Party is the same as everything bad about the Republican Party. The only difference is the lip service, their stance on mostly superfluous social issues. So let's see what these young men have to say.
and them, they just put themselves out there. They're more direct.
They have co-opted masculinity and they've politicized it.
I hate this term, the Joe Rogan of the left, that they need one. Joe Rogan is sort of left.
I do feel as though they are a distraction from class consciousness.
All of a sudden, everybody's talking about young men.
Men. Young men.
More than half of the male vote nationwide went to Trump. Men
Hey.
under 30.
This was the testosterone podcast election.
$20 million to try and solve this big mystery.
$20 million.
$20 million. Masculinity.
Roll culture.
The men.
The manosphere.
Hi, my name's Richard Reeves, and I've spent the last few years thinking about researching and writing about the struggles that young men, and particularly working class men, are facing in America. Because of how the last election went, there's a lot more attention on young men than actually at any time since I've been working on this issue. But I've been wondering, with all of this discourse talking about men, how many people have actually talked to men? After all, the problems facing men are real and serious. Men account for 80% of deaths and suicide, 70% of overdose deaths, 70% of the homeless population in America. They've fallen behind in education, in the labor market, and other major metrics. And it's young men in particular, those aged between 20 and 30, who are feeling the sharpest impact of many of these changing ideas and paradigms about men's roles, opportunities, and their outcomes. So I had a pretty wide-ranging conversation with 5 young men about their views on dating, mental health, toxic masculinity, and of course politics.
I am a carpenter and a musician.
I was a former teacher, and now I'm a union organizer.
I'm currently working on an undergraduate degree.
I've been bouncing around different part-time jobs and internships. I've done electrical, I've done construction. Most recently as a substitute teacher, and now working at the front desk at a tennis club. Moving, cleaning, any type of physical labor.
Some of what they said might make you uncomfortable, but the reality is whether you're a progressive or a conservative, both sides need to confront their problem with young men, or a large share of the population is not going to have a political home. That means they might turn to more extreme ideologies, and meanwhile their problems just get worse. So let's get into it. Did you vote in past elections, and can you tell us how you voted?
In 2016, I voted for Trump over Hillary. Before then, I didn't really vote, but I did support Obama in 2012 and 2008. We definitely went Trump in 2020. Not like I didn't support him. I don't support anything political, I believe that I'm just a working man in America. The president don't matter for me. They ain't gonna pass some crazy executive order that's gonna change my life or anything.
It's all happening.
Just smoking.
They could.
You know what I'm saying?
They
I
could.
voted in this election. I voted.
First you have to get someone in there that is even somewhat likely to do something like that. I really don't like these people that are like, well, I voted for Trump, but it doesn't really matter. It does matter. Why the fuck did you vote for Trump, dude? What the fuck were you thinking? Shame on you, dude. Shame on anyone who voted for Trump. Straight up. You voted for him in 2016. Okay, you got swept up in some bullshit. You saw a bunch of videos of white women with dyed hair screaming, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to be on that team. Okay, so you were stupid and ignorant. You were easily convinced. You're extremely gullible. But if you voted for him in 2024, there's no fucking excuse, man. There's just not. You made a mistake.
Read down the ballot, and I voted in the primary. Before that, I was too young.
The last time I voted was 2012 for Obama. It was the first time I could vote. After that, I kind of felt as though, politics and politicians were kind of blending into a uniform party overall, and things weren't fundamentally changing.
All throughout high school, I used to be a Republican, but my family got affected by the 2017 Trump tax cuts.
You got affected by it in what way? In a good way?
In a bad way.
In a bad way,
Yeah,
okay.
and I was just thinking to myself, like, who is this billionaire to lie to us and say, well, I'm going to fight for the truck driver, I'm going to fight for the carpenter and the middle class person, when he's not any of those things?
So I've just had a
Yeah, no shit, bud. No shit.
cynical view on general elections. I really don't think the general election matters that much unless you live in a handful of states, and I just use a write-in. I voted for local measures, but I don't really feel seen or heard by anyone in the government.
Let's look at some economic realities. In the top 20% of the income distribution, both women and men are flourishing on almost every measure. Growing wealth, longer lifespans. But outside of this top bracket, over the last 50 years, the trajectories for women and men have been very different. Women today are working more and for better pay than ever before. There's still a gender pay gap, but it's narrowing, which is great news. Men, on the other hand, are working less, often for worse pay. Real wage levels for many men are trending down. I wanted to know if the guys in this room were feeling the effects of these economic trends. On average, do you think that men are having it harder, or women are having it harder in the economy today? I'll start with you, John.
I'd say vaguely men, but I'd say vaguely in the in sort of area.
Who cares?
The problem with send manufacturing jobs off to other countries is that they are mostly blue-collar jobs. I don't entirely mean to stereotype, but
Manufacturing skews very male. That's just a fact.
Everybody's getting screwed, but I think if you're talking 50.01, then I think it'd be men.
Personally, including myself, I can think of 5 or 6 of my friends who are guys who have college degrees and who have not been able to find work since graduating. Some of them even with advanced degrees. I cannot say the same about them.
By the way, I don't mean who cares about people struggling. I just mean this, making this delineation of who's struggling more, men or women. It's not, dude, it's fucking, that's not a good metric. That's just silly. Let's talk about income. Let's talk about class, right?
my girlfriends. I can't think of a single one who's unemployed. You know, and part of it is just like I think women at this age are naturally risk averse, so they're not going to like leave a job if they don't have something lined up. There are a lot of different factors, but it's just an interesting thing to think about.
Obviously, I work with a lot of people. They tell me about their wages, their job, and women are definitely doing better in terms of like white collar work. But on the lower end, there's people, of course, that are struggling and people that, you know, need help. And then there's people that just have nothing. And, you know, people that just have nothing, I see that being primarily women on the lower end. But we don't have the same opportunity as we used to, like you brought up with manufacturing. I mean, that's a really great point.
I also think when it comes to college education, I don't know the exact number, but I'm pretty sure more women go to college.
Yeah, it's like 60-40, female, male now.
When you're having jobs that are looking for degrees, the percentage of men that don't have a degree versus percentage of women that do have a degree probably affects it.
Labour force participation for men has dropped 7% in the last 50 years. A third of men with only a high school education are not working today, whereas in the 60s, almost all of them were working. And that's partly because male-dominated industries, production, manufacturing, construction, transportation, they've all been particularly vulnerable to a 1-2 punch of more free trade and automation. And loss of a job isn't just about the loss of income. For many decades, being able to find a well-paying job and provide for a family was an essential part of the script that men could look to for how to be in the world. But now things have changed, both for the better, with women having more career opportunities, but also for the worse, with the middle-class standard of living becoming increasingly difficult to afford, sometimes even on 2 salaries. And the men that I talk to, they say that even though the world's changed, the script hasn't really caught up. It's almost like they're being cast in a modern-day HBO drama with a screenplay from Leave It to Beaver.
You know, Wally, shaving is just one of the outward signs of being a man. It's a whole lot more important to try to be a man inside first.
There's still a feeling of like having to be a provider, despite, you know, the economic situation currently where that's becoming increasingly harder.
Especially for working class men.
Yeah.
Do you all agree with that there is still this expectation on men to be doing well economically?
Absolutely.
Even as it's harder for men to do well economically in many cases?
Dude, everybody has to fucking make money, or you die. You don't... I don't know, man. I don't know why I clicked on this video. I don't like this gender-centric stuff. It's silly.
The expectation is there, but I think it's less of an external pressure and more among men. There's a sense of inferiority.
So you think it's more about almost like the competition?
I do, yeah.
But I want to get to this change thing. Maybe, Chris, you and Joel, you both talked about your grandfathers. And I think you both talked about them providing, like, for their family. So how do you think it's different now? How do you think the expectations on men are different now to they were in your grandfather? Are they better or worse?
Worse, because the economy. You know, things is more expensive now. In our area, the DMV has a lot to do with it, too. Like, this is a high-earning area. Cost of living is through the roof. But says my grandfather growing up down in Georgia, South Carolina, I don't even know what their rent was. It's probably somebody's car insurance.
But women weren't earning as much back then, right? So they were more reliant on him.
I never seen my grandmother work at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, my grandmother never worked. She was always at the house with me, or if I was in school, and my grandfather made enough money.
So she didn't need him economically in a way maybe that women hopefully don't today.
She just knew that he was going to take care of everything.
Okay. Hayden.
I think men, yes, due to, you know, chivalry and traditional gender roles, yeah, they are expected to be providers, but I don't care if my future wife makes more money than me. That doesn't matter.
Do any of you care? Would any of you worry?
I would love
that. Exactly.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'm proposing ASAP.
As long as she's in the union.
Okay, so this is interesting, right? But then let me ask you this question. Do you think that the guy should pay on the first date?
Oh, yeah, maybe the first few.
On the first date.
Okay,
Let's explore that. So there's tension here. All of you said you would be quite happy being in a relationship with a woman that earns more than you, but all of you said that you should pay for the first date, and you said, like, that's really interesting to me.
I think it's more of an acknowledgement, like, I've asked you out.
So if she asked you out, it might be the other way around?
I mean, maybe, yeah, if she asked me out, I mean, I don't think that's ever happened to me, but, like, if a girl was like, I really want you to go out.
It hasn't happened to any of us, by the way, so I don't know why we're all laughing. Men's issues with expectations can work the other way too. In a society following the old gender script, men are not only saddled with expectations, increasingly impossible to meet, but themselves are forced to expect less from certain institutions that are supposed to support everyone. They're going to put you on the spot here a bit, Darren, because I know from some of the prep calls that you had some difficulties within a relationship. So we're here to talk about dating, but let's talk about how relationships can end. I know you've had some personal experience with that. If you're willing to share.
It was an awful situation, honestly, because she actually ended up like assaulting me. So I had like a bite mark. I even recorded it because she had whipped me with like a hair blow dryer before. And, you know, I showed it to the judge to try to get a protective order. And, you know, he just laughed at the fact that I was taking back a hairdryer because obviously I don't have any hair. But, you know, as a judge, when I'm saying, hey, this person assaulted me, you know, a domestic violence situation, for him to like make that comment was really painful. And ultimately I got denied the protective order and she was able to stay in the house and, you know, just continue being around me after assaulting me, after emotionally and mentally tormenting me this whole time.
It sounds like you feel like the courts didn't treat you fairly.
Not at all. I had blood on my arm when I went into the, to go get my protective order against her, and they said this is gonna last for a day. She, 2 days before she moved out, put a protective order on me saying that I was making Instagram posts about her. I was sleeping on the couch this whole time. She said I was busting in her door every day, verbally harassing her, and the judge took that and said, okay, great, your protective order is granted for 7 days like that. And like I said, I walked in with blood on my arm and got one for 1 day.
Darren's story is emblematic, I think, of the problems on one side of the political stalemate over issues of sex and gender. Liberals refuse to accept that gender gaps can now run both ways, and they're too quick to label male problems as individual failings, symptoms of toxic masculinity. Conservatives, on the other hand, do appear to be more sensitive to the struggles of boys and men, but too often as a justification for turning back the clock and restoring traditional roles. So the left turns its back on boys and men, and the right turns back the clock on women and girls. As you can imagine, these guys had a lot to say about both of these problems.
What I'll say about Democrats not only abandoning men, but I also think they kicked them to the curb and spit on them. You're telling men not to be men. You're telling men they can't watch football because it's sexist or UFC because it's sexist. Yeah, men are into fighting. That's why Trump is there. You know, because Trump isn't abandoned us.
I've never heard it, and I'm not trying to defend Democrats here. I've never heard anyone say that football is sexist or that UFC is sexist. I mean, women fight in the UFC also, so I don't really know what that even means, to be honest.
The Democratic Party has abandoned men. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Does everyone else?
Yeah.
But I think what's worse is the Republican Party actively lying to men. They play the culture war. They don't want to talk about who could actually be exploiting them, like billionaires, corporations, like trans people are not hiking my credit card interest rates. They did not keep my...
This is so cool, dude. It's so nice to hear some people talking common sense.
Is stagnant, you're focusing on the wrong 1%.
You're a right-wing man, Joel. What do you think?
I was going to say...
Just threw you under the bus.
To your point, yeah.
Sorry, I get that out, man. I had to.
It's no open forum. It's no open forum. Yeah, I might have to say a point against...
Speaking as a transphobe.
Speaking as a transgender myself. But, no.
Yeah, crazy.
No, the point you made earlier about how sort of the working class people on both sides, there really is no need to hate each other. I was thinking about that recently. The divide in America really should be class. You know, work versus... you know, the elite.
Yeah.
I can't see any conceivable way how in 2024 black people and white people can hate each other, or Mexicans or Latinos or whoever to hate each other. Really, we should be hating the people making us hate each other. Now you can call it the Illuminati or Hydra. I call them Democrats, but besides that, no, okay.
We're not cutting the corporate tax rate and giving them the ability to exploit their workers, but
on the culture point, though, right? Wouldn't you say it does go both ways?
In which regard?
Don't you think on the left it could be a bit of a tendency to get women to blame men? It's
yeah,
patriarchy,
I
it's
can see
toxic
that.
masculinity.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Isn't there an argument that it's actually equally true on the left?
I wouldn't say it's equal. I would say the right absolutely plays more into the culture war than
That's
the
true.
leftists.
I would say the reason why we do that now is if you look at, I'd say the 90s to the early 2000s, the right, the Republicans at least weren't playing into the culture war thing. So we lost. We lost for a long time. And honestly, I think we still might. I think we did lose, and I think it's going to take a while for sort of Judeo-Christian morals to come back into the, over 50%.
How would you know if they had come back?
I guess we're so open nowadays. Would kind of be a way to describe it. We aren't in ancient Judea 2,000 years ago, in a way, which I think is fine. I think it's the world we live in. I don't need women covering themselves.
Well, very few people would want to go back to.
No, I don't want to either. I like America.
Chris, let me ask you whether you think the Democrats or the Republicans speak best to men right now.
I'd probably say the Republicans. I really can't answer it because I don't pay attention. None of them affect me. But I see more of the Republicans, whatever they're talking about, because Trump and Vance and them, they just put themselves out there. They're more direct. You see Joe Biden's just some old guy, you can barely hear him. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what the hell he's talking about. And you got Trump who's going to come direct, more just to where I understand it.
I do agree that I feel like Republicans or conservatives have signaled to men, younger men, you have a place here. If you come with us, you'll have fun. You can be expressive. You can open yourself. You don't have to be polite. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You don't have to be.
Hey, you can join ICE and get paid to harass brown people and send them to concentration camps.
Drain. I don't believe it's the way that they funnel men into this corner is the best. I mean, you'll watch a video on YouTube about working out, and then Andrew Tate will pop up eventually, and then some more right-wing comedian will pop up, and then you'll have Joe Rogan, and then you'll have Ben Shapiro, and then you'll just be exposed to this whole manosphere.
I hate this term, the Joe Rogan of the left that they need. When Joe Rogan is sort of left, he endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016 and 2020. All I've seen in my lifetime is Democrats conceding more and more and more and more,
especially on men's issues.
Especially on men's issues.
Joe Rogan is not left at all. Maybe he used to be, but that's a crazy thing to say. He uses this platform to host a bunch of terrible right-wing grifters. He supports Trump. I don't know what he's talking about here. Joe is kind of left. No, he's not.
They're just slowly shrinking the circle of issues that they actually care about to align with things that aren't going to get their donors pissed off at them. I love the point though about Joe Rogan endorsing Bernie Sanders twice, because anytime somebody who appeals to young men across the board rises to a level where they might actually reach any sort of real power, Democrats just kneecap them.
The Democrats don't have a narrative when the Republicans do. The Republicans are immigrants, trans people, a bunch of minority communities, they're the reason why your life is bad. The Democrats don't have that. They have, oh, we're going to tinker around the edges of the status quo.
Well, wouldn't they say that it's the billionaires? It's the
I don't think the corporate wing of the party would.
They're sitting in the room.
Yeah, they're sitting in the room. The Democrats have as much corporate money as the Republican Party does.
Do you think that the Democrats...
Dude, these guys are fucking smart. This is so refreshing, honestly.
Become too much the women's party?
I don't even think you can really say that. Like, I think there are probably more women that vote Democrat than men.
That's true. Absolutely true.
But I think Democrats are just completely empty and lack any real spine when it comes to any issues whatsoever. Republicans, they do the things they campaigned on. For better or worse, I think most of the policies they implement are subjectively evil and create more human suffering than we already have. But they actually do them, and it speaks to voters. If you're the kind of
yeah. Did Trump do anything for middle class and lower class people? No. So I don't know. Let me hear what he said again. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it.
When it comes to any issues whatsoever, Republicans,
they do the things they campaigned on. No, they fucking don't. I mean, they do the stupid things that, like, deporting a bunch of immigrants. I guess that's what he's talking about. Stuff like that. But the stuff that they say they're going to do that would actually be good for the American people, they don't do any of that, for better or worse.
They campaigned on. For better or worse, I think most of the policies they implement are just objectively evil and create more human suffering than we already have. But they actually do them, and it speaks to voters. If you're the kind of person that thinks illegal immigrants are causing all the problems in this country, then you like what's going on right now. You like that people are being randomly kidnapped off.
You're also stupid, and you suck.
Authenticity to
right.
it.
They're not telling you one thing and doing another. Democrats, on the other hand, they tell you that they want to do all these progressive things. They tell you they support, lowering the cost of healthcare and education. They tell you they support, raising the minimum wage. And then what happens when they get in office? Biden can't even get his own senators to approve raising the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour. Like, the fact that that's still the federal minimum wage in this year, 2025, is a joke.
That really is a joke. That really is insane.
What they were talking about really was a sense of authenticity. There's a high degree of respect among men, I think especially for young men, for men who say what they think and stand by it.
He's been insanely consistent his entire life. He's basically been saying the same thing, been for the same thing his whole life.
That kind of codes as a kind of masculine virtue.
The Republicans, they have co-opted masculinity and they've politicized it. You see it in, like, UFC. Like, I'm on the left. I like watching UFC. I think it's very entertaining. I think it's a very skill-filled sport. But I don't want to see Trump and RFK Jr. and nerdy Mike Johnson walking to the octagon. Like, people...
You kind of do want to see Mike Johnson do that.
I don't want to see him anywhere.
Nowhere has all of this mess played out more than in one specific phrase. What do you think of the term toxic masculinity? Good and useful term, or a bad and unhelpful term?
Who's answering that?
I'm just going to see who wants to take toxic
I'll
masculinity.
go first.
This is how we find out who's the most toxic.
Well, I hope I ain't too toxic, but for me, I don't even believe in nothing like that. I believe a man is supposed to be a man. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to be masculine. No matter if another man feels offended by it, everybody ain't going to respect you. Everybody ain't going to like you. If a woman's saying that a man's doing too much or something, he's just trying to be a man,
Or he might be being a jerk or a predator or whatever.
So what do they mean by toxic masculinity?
Well, that's the question.
Okay, I never understood it.
At one point, this term toxic masculinity had a very narrow and concrete, quite academic definition. And it wasn't actually created by kind of liberal academic elites. It came from a group of men, specifically men driven by a kind of spiritual movement in the 80s and 90s that was a response to feminism in many ways. Until around 2015, the phrase warranted just a few footnotes, really, in academic journals. But with the rise of Donald Trump and the Me Too movement, progressives brought this term toxic masculinity into everyday use. Suddenly it was everywhere, thousands of mentions, impossible to ignore. But the term's very rarely defined, and it now seems to refer to any male behavior that the user of the term disapproves of, from the tragic to the trivial. Toxic masculinity has been blamed, among other things, for mass shootings, gang violence, rape, online trolling, climate change, the financial crisis, Brexit, the election of Donald Trump, even an unwillingness to wear a mask during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Vaguely speaking, it's overused. I mean, they said the term boys will be boys is offensive now, in the same sort of way, and it's like, guys want to drink and punch each other. I don't get how that's toxic. I mean, I can sort of get the idea of, when Prohibition was coming to America, the idea is that the man makes the money. And
Sorry, just something in the chat. I wonder who stopped Biden from raising the minimum wage. Who stopped Biden? I don't know. Good question.
depending on his family, he spends it on whiskey, and then he beats his wife. Yeah, I guess that's being toxically masculine, but I don't think that wholesale exists anymore. I just think it's a term, to put down men who want to be men. I'm not into makeup, that might be shocking. That's just toxic.
I guess Republicans probably stopped Biden from raising the minimum wage.
Before 2016, before this dressed up word, you know, you'd have this guy's an asshole. You know, he's overly aggressive. He's just, way too forward, or he's creepy, or whatever it might be. So you call him an asshole, you call him weird, you know, whatever. But now it's toxic masculinity, and then there's like a whole bunch of other opinions that people can just lump into toxic masculinity. But when you call someone an asshole, you kind of just know what they're talking about.
They need to go back to just saying that. That's a lot easier. They should just go back to just calling guys a-holes. Like,
I'd like to. So, conclusion of this debate: everyone's an asshole. We should just know what's toxic.
Mission accomplished.
I don't find this response from the guys here surprising at all. Very few men or boys are going to react well to the idea that there's something toxic inside of them that needs to be exorcised. I didn't try to raise my sons to be not toxic. That's not a very empowering message. I think if anything, it's the opposite, that the term toxic masculinity will sort of drive more boys and men away to the online manosphere, where they'll be reassured that there's something wrong with them, and it's actually the liberals who are out to get them. But also, at a deeper level, what this means is that we miss the opportunity to address the...
Hold on. We got a link here. Republicans. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Structural problems faced.
But they can't vote it on due to the threat of a Republican Senate filibuster. The thing is, though, how come we didn't get to the point where they had to do a filibuster? Because that would be interesting. What Republican is going to sit? I mean, this has got to be one of the most... Like, what kind of person doesn't want the minimum wage to be increased? You know, I think most people would want that. So to put them in a position where they have to fight not to have it be raised, that would probably be ideal. So it sounds like the Republicans stopped them, but also it's just some cowardice, typical, Democrat nutlessness had something to do with it too.
Boys and men, when instead we focus on the toxic flaws in those individual men. So if they're depressed, we say it's because they don't express their feelings. If men get sick, it's because they won't go to the doctor. If they fail at school, it's because they don't try hard enough.
I don't go to the doctor because I don't have health insurance.
That's a very far cry from how the term was originally meant to be used.
I think the term itself comes from a good intention, which is like, how can we create a healthier society for everyone involved? I think most of us would agree that there's a severe mental health problem in this country, and a lot of the time it manifests itself in men.
80% of suicide,
right, suicide rate, rates of addiction, rates
much
of
higher among men.
Much higher.
I'd like to dig in a bit more on just how the mental health issues are kind of playing out differently for men and women. And I shared some stats earlier around the much higher suicide rates among men. Actually, it's gone up most among young men. It's really men under 30 where we've seen the rise. The rise in drug poisoning deaths has been mostly men. Substance abuse is mostly men. And so it's not to say there aren't issues that go the other way, but I'd just like any more reflections that you've got on how you think the mental health stuff is playing out. We talked a bit about the lack of male psychologists and your counsellor, so maybe we should start with you, Ed, and talk a bit about your own experience.
Yeah, so I'm in recovery. I'm sober. I've been sober from...
They didn't have control of the Senate, and MAGA people were blocking every little thing. Yeah, but wasn't there a time when Democrats did have control of the Senate and they still fucking didn't do anything at all? But yeah, I mean, you're right. Burn slots, you're absolutely right. Thank you for educating me on that. I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. We're inundated with so much garbage constantly that things that actually... I mean, like this guy just said, right? Like, I don't care who's president. It's not like they're going to pass an executive order that's going to do anything for me. Well, they could. Like, I think that that's like one of the main complaints about Democrats is they just pay lip service to progressive things. They don't fucking do anything progressive. But I think theoretically they could, right? I don't know.
Primarily alcohol. For 2.5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's a little tough being a 24-year-old in recovery, having the weird eyes and the weird questions.
Well, I haven't had a drink for 5 years. It's not much easier when you're 50s.
Congrats. Nice.
Thank you.
But no, it was just, I'd gone through personally a whole, string of personal losses, and unfortunately I turned to alcohol to cope with my issues mentally, emotionally, and physically. And I needed all the help I could get.
I think that the whole area of mental health if we're not careful, it gets coded as a bit female.
Yeah.
It's what women do. The websites look quite female.
Boys don't cry, all that stuff, you know, puff out your chest kind of shit. I don't know. Boys can't go to therapy. I think
that's toxic masculinity. I think that might be at least what the original term was intended to mean. That's exactly it. And this guy is nodding, right? This guy that just said, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Go to therapy. They should try it once.
Like Darren said, most of the medical fields are all women.
Well, it's certainly shifting that way. And like psychology, therapy, social work, they're just becoming massively more female. Jobs like these, increasingly dominated by women, fall into the industries that I call HEAL: health, education, administration, and literacy. If we're going to do right by the men in our society, we need to both protect workers in traditionally male industries and help men adapt to current economic realities by encouraging them to transition into these HEAL jobs. We know a lot about STEM initiatives for women, and they've helped massively. We've tripled the share of STEM workers who are women. But we now need the same type of mass effort for young men to encourage them into education and health. I'm very proud of the fact that my son is a 5th grade teacher. And gender gaps can't be addressed without also addressing class gaps. While the gender pay gap has narrowed by 19 percentage points in the last 40 years, the class pay gap between the top and the middle has widened by 12 percentage points. There's a moment really I want to leave you with, stuck with me and I found inspiring. After we'd wrapped up, the 5 young men who disagreed with each other pretty strongly, they sat and shared a bite to eat, exchanged numbers, and they just hung out with each other, not as representatives of different political ideologies or as enemies, but as fellow young men trying to figure things out. And as we discussed, a lot of young men don't have a script anymore for how they should be in the world. Quite often they know what they shouldn't do, but they don't know what they should do. And so what we need now are some new economic and social scripts which allow for a positive vision of masculinity that is also compatible with gender equality. If we're going to write a new script for men.
Burnslot says, I admire you holding both sides accountable. Never stop doing that. Wow, man, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely, like I said earlier, I think one of the craziest, most disheartening things to see is like these MAGA people, because they're just treating this like it's a fucking sports game and they're just picking their team. And that to me is not the right attitude. Even if you like a politician and you want to support them, you have to maintain a very critical eye. And, you know, these people have to be forced to work for us. If they're not forced, they're not going to work for us. And, yeah, this just the attitude of just, oh, I just love Trump. He's amazing. Everything he does, I'm going to, you know, these people will completely change their values to just support whatever he does. So, yeah. You gotta, this type of thing is, this is not the arena for your fandom. You know what I mean? Like, I find it extremely pathetic when people, well, it's really only, that's the thing though, like I said earlier, you don't really see people on the left doing that. You don't really see, like, people on the left just blindly following a politician that they like. They tend to be a little more realistic and practical about it. But yeah.
Matches modern society. It's not going to come out finding the perfect influencer. It's going to come out of messy conversations like this one. So thank you for watching, and hopefully, no matter what side of the political spectrum you land on, you got something out of this conversation. I know I did. More Perfect Union wants to have more conversations like this, not just about with young men, but on all sorts of themes. Send them a line at stories@perfectunion.us. And don't forget to like and subscribe to their channel.
More Perfect Union seems to be doing some pretty cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty positive stuff here. Alright, we're back to the fucking ICE stuff. I was gonna try to avoid it, but this looks interesting. I wanna know what this is all about. Ow, dude. God damn it. Ow, 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 ow. My cat is attacking me.
Well, anti-ICE protesters, get this, storming a church in St. Paul, Minnesota, disrupting services to confront the pastor, who they allege is working with ICE. And the DOJ says enough is enough. AG Pam Bondi, quote, says this: attacks against law enforcement and the intimidation of Christians are being met with the full force of federal law. If state leaders refuse to act responsibly to prevent lawlessness, the DOJ will remain mobilized to prosecute federal crimes and ensure that the rule of law prevails. DOJ senior advisor.
This is an attack on Christianity now.
Alina Haba joins us now. Alina, your reaction to with the AG.
Pastors have a right to help ICE, kidnap people.
And that is, we're going to investigate this. Is that the protesters or is that the mayor and governor for inciting?
That's everybody. That's everybody. The FACE Act is a long-standing federal statute that prohibits...
XNF? No, I have not seen that. If you could send me a link, we can watch it. He asked, did you see the Kamala, or they asked, did you see the Kamala campaign ad specifically targeted at men? No, that'd be fun to see. I mean... Alright, let's watch it. Let's watch it.
I'm a man.
I'm a man, man.
And I'm man enough. I'm man enough to enjoy a barrel-proof bourbon.
Meat.
Man enough to cook my steak rare.
Man enough to deadlift 500, then braid the out of my daughter's hair.
You think I'm afraid to rebuild a carburetor? I eat carburetors for breakfast.
I ain't afraid of bears.
That's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women. I'm not afraid of women. I'm not afraid of women.
They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies?
Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president? Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement. Because I'm man enough to support women.
Man enough to know what kind of donuts I like.
Man enough to admit I'm lost, even when I refuse to ask for directions.
Man enough to not ban young women from reading Little Women.
Or one of those pants books that the sisters like. I'm man enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked. Not worth it. I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough.
Sorry, can someone tell me what raw dogging a flight is?
Enough to raw dog a flight. It sucked.
What is
Not
that?
worth it. I'm man enough to be emotional in front of my wife.
In front of my kids.
In front of my horse.
I'm man enough to tell you that I cry at Love Actually.
Good Will Hunting.
West Side Story.
That and Predator.
And I'm sick of so-called men domineering, belittling, and controlling women just so they can feel more powerful.
That's not how my mama raised me.
I love women. I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge. And I'm man enough to help them win.
I mean, that wasn't terrible. You know, it's... I wasn't the worst, political ad I've ever seen. I mean, look, all I really gotta say about Kamala Harris or Joe Biden is that they were terrible fucking choices. Obviously, Kamala wasn't even really a choice. She just kind of got put in that position, but many people think that ad's so bad that it's fake. I mean, I get that. I get that. I think, a lot of the Democrats like a lot, just their ads, their slogans, there's always just this element of cheese to it that's just like, oh my god, you know what I mean? It's always cringy. And yeah, I feel like this is no different, but I also kind of appreciate what they're trying to say. But you know, the problem is they're trying to, they think that just not being Trump is enough to win, and it's not. Bernie would have won in 2016. Bernie would have won in 2020. And Bernie probably would have won in 2024. So that's, if you want any proof that the Democrats don't really care about winning, I mean, it's the past 3 elections. They literally could have gotten a president in office 3 times, but that president would have, done it, or that. I mean, look, I think Bernie Sanders was. I think Bernie Sanders was well aware of his role of, trying to accumulate support from progressives and then transfer that support onto a total, a status quo neolib. And once he did that for the 3rd time, it was pretty much undeniable. But if he was, if he actually wanted to be president, and if the Democrats actually wanted to win, they totally could have. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Let me read these. What is going on in the chat here? I get the confusion. I do think this is XNF. I get the confusion. I do think language like full-throated support and raw dogging were meant to be funny. Absolutely, that was meant to be funny. Also, if anyone can tell me what raw dogging a flight is, please let me know. They are trying to fight the meme war. Yeah. Bernie was the Democratic candidate, not the Democrat candidate. Please clear up what you mean by that. Not sure what you mean by that. All right, let's get back to this. The DOJ is going to crack down on these American citizens that don't like ICE.
Force, threats, obstruction, any kind of interference with a...
Do not interfere. Stay home, keep your head down. Hope they don't target you. That's the American way.
Place of worship, and it carries criminal penalties and violations. And what the Attorney General is saying is the truth. She will come down hard. The Department of Justice will come down hard. Our Civil Rights Division will come down hard on anybody who tries to impede or intimidate somebody in a place of worship, or a police officer or an ICE officer. It's just not going to happen in this administration, and Pam is making that very clear.
So the mayor comes out and says they're just speaking up peacefully. They're standing up for their neighbors, and it's not just about resisting Trump. This is about loving and caring for the people that call the city home.
Yeah, bro. I know that doesn't make sense to you, but that makes sense to me. That sounds spot on.
Better about it now?
Okay. Yeah, so we have a mayor who's a Somali sympathizer who we've seen dancing around on stage with their flag instead of an American flag. And I'm supposed to sit here, exactly, and I'm supposed to sit here and believe that is not creating more hostility, where we have I just spoke with Brian, 200 agents the other night that are leaving their families, going there to keep the peace, to get criminals.
What the fuck? Oh my God. Are they really saying ICE is keeping the peace now? Or is that really... Like, what the hell? That's so ridiculous.
That don't belong here out so that we are a safer country, and they don't even know what they're standing for. And let me also tell you something.
Sounds like they do know what they're standing for. Sounds like this guy read something that kind of made it pretty fucking clear what they stand for. I don't think it's that hard to understand.
Department of Justice will look into whomever is funding this. It's no different.
Dude, this narrative of people that don't like ICE are just anti-American, you know, they're paid protests. Like, dude, they just say whatever. I've heard Fox News say 100 different things instead of just what it actually is. They're fucking pissed off for a very good reason. That's all this is, man. It's not that fucking complicated. It really is not complicated.
Than a RICO action. If you are funding mass protests.
Oh my God.
Protests that will tell you.
Did she really just say RICO? Dude, as if RICO couldn't get stretched anymore. They're now gonna charge protesters. They're gonna take any protester off the street and charge them as if they organized the whole thing, and as if the thing is a crime, which it isn't. At least as of right now, it still isn't. I'm sure Trump would love to change that, unless you're in Iran, in which case he loves protesters.
The Department of Justice will look into whomever is funding this. It's no different than a RICO action.
Hey, guess what? You dumb motherfuckers. No one's funding it. It doesn't... These people aren't being paid. They actually believe in what they're doing. They have morals. They have values.
Funding mass protests. If you are having protests that are not righteous protests, there are First Amendment rights that we respect.
Oh, who decides what is a righteous protest and not? I guess that's Trump, right? Protests in Iran, those are righteous. Protests here, fucking criminal. All right, let me catch up with the chat here. Hold on. It was clear, XNF says, it was clear before the nomination was decided that the party establishment was using their control of the DNC to oppose Bernie and advantage Hillary. Yes, and my issue is I think Bernie is also complicit in it, which bums me out. MAGA tears. XNF says, tears of joy. Democrats keep making themselves look worse. Yeah, sure. Democrats don't look great. Republicans still look a lot fucking worse, dude. And that's my issue with, like, it seems like a lot of people are kind of just starting to understand that the Democrat Party is bad or whatever. But how does that somehow translate into Republican Party good? Republican Party worse. Republican Party worse. Democrat Party bad. Republican Party worse. That's literally how it is. I don't know if someone wants to make an argument that the Republican Party is somehow not even worse than the Democratic Party. I'd love to hear it. Plenty of activists are funded. Really, dude? Some are even federal agents. Yikes, man. Yikes. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but that's going to be extremely rare. That's going to be extremely rare. When you have hundreds of thousands of people in the street for like a No Kings rally, tell me, how many of those people are paid? How many of those people are federal agents? Give me a number, please. What's your estimate? If 100,000 people protest in New York City, how many of them are paid? And how many of them are federal agents? Maybe like one? And like one? I mean, this is not this. I hate to say it, XNF, but I think you might be falling for some Fox News talking points there. One argument is that the establishment didn't want Bernie or Trump, but the Republican Party managed to elect Trump anyway. Yeah, because, and that's the thing, that you're absolutely right. It's, by the way, nothing I say here is personal. I respect everybody that's willing to have a conversation. I know I can come off kind of dismissive, but that's kind of, that's my thing. You got to be entertaining. But yeah, XNF, you say a lot of things that are very, very practical, and I agree. I think, it's pretty obvious that the Republican establishment didn't want Trump at first. But, they obviously are completely willing to just reverse their positions, abandon values, and now they're all just MAGA. So if that doesn't show you how disingenuous these people are, you know, well, there's 100 other things that could show you that.
Are putting people in risk, not allowing people to go to church. This Department of Justice will come down on you.
So I want to talk.
Not allowing people to go to church? Did that happen?
That are not righteous protests.
Sounds like to me like a pastor is pro-ICE, and so some people went into his church and protested against that, which, I mean, look, if a lot of these Christian pastors they're not about peace, they're not about love, and so I don't really find it that abhorrent for, you know, a little bit of anger to come their way. They fucking deserve it. Both sides wanted the guy that sells national parks to oil companies. Genocide Joe was fine. Don't think Genocide Joe was even a Fox News talking point. No, I was saying that protesters being paid... protesters being anything but just actual people who are actually pissed off about something is very much a Fox News talking point. Yes, it is. That's what I was talking about. And as far as Genocide Joe being a Fox News talking point, probably not, because they, you know, support for Israel, unfortunately, is fucking ubiquitous. So, yeah, no one really says anything about that. I'm assuming that's the genocide you're speaking of.
There are First Amendment rights that we respect, but that are putting people in risk, not allowing people to go to church. This Department of Justice will come down on you.
So,
this bitch needs to chill on the fucking lip fillers, bro. Jesus Christ. You look ridiculous.
Talk about something else the president brought up last night, addressing one, that Jamie Dimon was not going to be his Treasury Secretary. And number two, he's going to sue J.P. Morgan Chase for debanking him in 2021. So he says that most likely...
If you don't suck his balls, he will go after you. That's... If there's anything that should be extremely clear about Trump at this point, it's that he doesn't make friends. There's no friends, okay? If you suck his balls relentlessly, then you'll be all right. If you don't, he's going to use his power to go after you. And Fox News is somehow going to just keep justifying that over and over again.
And when we know this, like...
Fucking people say Democrats eat their own. Again, there's not much you can say about one party that can't be said about the other as far as negative stuff. Protesters are paid. It's a real thing. Sorry if MS Now says otherwise. They're lying. Dude, I get that you don't know me. You don't know where I get my information. But no, this is... Again, if 100,000 people in New York City protest, can you tell me what percentage of them are paid? Can you please tell me that? Like, let me get a grasp on what you're even claiming. Because if you're just claiming that's a thing that exists, I'm not going to disagree with you. But that's definitely extremely rare because there's just not a practical reason for it. And I'm sorry if Fox News disagrees with that. They're lying to you.
The case.
Isn't it fucking obvious? If people are protesting something that, you know, Fox News doesn't want people to disagree with, it goes against their narrative for people to be against it, obviously they're going to say, well, these people aren't genuinely against it. They're paid. They're going to try and make it all into this cynical thing. I mean, bro, that's... First of all, have you ever been to a protest? Answer me that. First, answer me, they don't publicly disclose how many are paid. Who's they, dude? Who is they? What's established is that they pay protesters. Who? The fuck are you talking about, bro? I know we're watching Fox News. I'm able to watch stuff and not, get convinced by everything I hear. Yeah, who paid them, bro? That's stupid. I'm sorry, that's
Joe
stupid.
Biden's White House. How do you feel about this lawsuit, and what's the message the president gave him in 2021? So he says that most likely, and we know this likely to be the case, it was pressure from Joe Biden's White House. How do you feel about this lawsuit, and what's the message the president's sending? I mean, he doesn't need the money.
Please don't sue me, Trump. It was Biden's idea. I'm so sorry.
Debanking of President Trump and his business is a really broader issue. No one should be denied financial services due to their religious or political ideologies. I find it very sad that we're discussing this, ironically, on Martin Luther King Day, frankly, who was a civil rights leader. Why would J.P. Morgan all of a sudden decide that they no longer want President Trump's business? Hold
on. I'm sorry. I got to back up. How is Martin Luther... How is this related to Martin Luther King in any way? How is that ironic?
I find it very sad that we're discussing this, ironically, on Martin Luther King Day, frankly.
That's the most disingenuous fucking horse shit. Oh my god.
Who was a civil rights leader. Why would J.P. Morgan all of a sudden decide that they no longer want President Trump's business? He had billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars with J.P. Morgan accounts, and he was given approximately 20 days, according to the president, to remove these funds due to, quote...
Yeah, that's what MLK was all about. That's what civil rights are all about. Banks have to support rich people. That's the discrimination that MLK was... That's what he was really harping on. These banks can't discriminate against billionaires. Fucking Fox News for you folks.
President Trump's business. He had billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars with J.P. Morgan accounts, and he was given approximately 20 days, according to the president, to remove these funds due to, quote, compliance risk reasons. It's just simply too hard to believe. This wasn't the result of pressure from federal regulators, and we need to look into it. And it's not for President Trump. It's for anybody. You should not be accused or denied the right to bank based on what you vote, who you vote for, and what you believe. And we're not going to have that either.
Yeah, it shouldn't be Democrats, shouldn't be Republicans. They should be apolitical. Banks should stay out of it. I know Jamie Dimon and President Trump are on good terms, but they did put out this statement, did J.P. Morgan Chase, in response to the suit. Serving more than 80 million Americans is our privilege. And we agree that no one's account should ever be closed because of political or religious beliefs. We appreciate that this administration has moved to address political debanking, and we support those efforts. They have denied they did it. So does Bank of America. So this is a clash ready to happen as the president heads to Davos to see these very same people. Alina Habba, welcome back. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Eva Earhart.
Brian Kilmeade? I'm Brian Kilmeade. I have no soul. Please kill me. X and F. First of all, I appreciate you being here, but please, if you can tell me, I'm trying to give you a. I'm trying to understand the scale of what you're claiming. So if you could just tell me, if 100,000 people protest in New York City, let's just use the No Kings protest for example. What percentage of them are paid? What percentage of them are feds, according to you? I would love to know, then we can go further with that discussion. All right, let's look at this guy. This guy totally doesn't look like a fucking Nazi.
Agitators are protesting.
This Borders R guy. Oh God, look at him. He doesn't look like a Nazi. Elon Musk didn't do a Sig Heil.
Anti-ICE agitators are protesting again in Minneapolis as the DOJ investigates Governor Tim Walz and Mayor Jacob Frey for allegedly impeding ICE operations.
If you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocity.
XNF said, they don't publicly disclose it, you fucking idiot. Okay, who is they? Who is they? Again, like, you're saying protests are What? Run by someone? What are you trying to say, dude? I don't think you fucking know. I don't think you've thought about this for more than 5 minutes, and I think you're probably thinking about it now, and hopefully you're able to realize that what you're saying is actually fucking stupid. And that's okay. It's okay. It's good to examine things that you've just been repeating and you didn't think about. That's a lot of us do that. We hear something and we repeat it and we don't take 5 minutes to think about it. The federal agencies, the activist organization, etc., they don't disclose it, they deliberately conceal it. Duh. That's not a very good argument. Also, federal agencies are funding, so federal agencies are funding protests, but also activist organizations. So are they working together? Are they just, is it like half and half? Like, I'm trying not to be a dick, but I mean, it's just, dude, it's just a stupid Fox News talking point. That's all it is. I don't care if you're too dumb to look into it. I'm just confirming it happens. All right, man. Well, send me a link or something and I'll click on it and we can look into it together. How about that? Because I'm not sure you've looked into it, to be honest.
It's against Minnesotans.
I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
And now, Fox News has told DHS agents with rooms booked at the St. Paul downtown Doubletree Hotel have received notice that it will close due to threats the staff is receiving for lodging immigration agents. Oh.
That's fucking awesome. I'm sorry, that's awesome. I don't know. Like, why, dude, why would you love ICE at this point? Seriously.
Intolerant left at it again. Joining us now from Minneapolis is Border Patrol Commander, the great Gregory Bovino. Greg, thank you so much for being with us. I'm sorry of everything that you've had to go through.
I'm so sorry. So sorry that your officers aren't allowed to just, go around and harass people without any pushback. That's so sad for you. Poor Nazi. Aww.
Sorry that you have to deal with all this, but we've learned that one of your staff members was just evicted from that Doubletree Hotel. What more can you tell us about this?
Well, Tommy and everyone, it's good to see you. Thanks for having me. I received word last night from Border Patrol agents, and it's more than one staff member. It's Border Patrol and ICE, well over a dozen. They received word at that Doubletree, as well as the Intercontinental Motel, which is close by, that they needed to be out by noon today. And the messaging given to our agents was very inconsistent. No reason given, just that you needed to be out. So I had some quick thinking staff, Tommy, and we made a call to the Doubletree, and they were still accepting reservations last night after they gave that letter to the Border Patrol and ICE agents that they needed to depart. So a lot of inconsistencies and questions there.
Yeah, I just want to follow up real quick on that, Greg, because we saw what our own Bill Malugin posted about these evictions and saying that their staff feared for their lives.
Oh, they fear for their lives. Wait, who fears for their lives? Immigrants? What?
Were being threatened if they were accommodating ICE agents. Have you found that to be true? And I'm sure it's happening. I'm sure they're being harassed. We've seen many folks being harassed, but have you heard about the hotel staff specifically being targeted?
So who's paying all these people, man? Who's paying all these people? You think all these people right here are paid? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? No, I actually don't think any of these people are cops, to be honest.
I've not heard any indication of the hotel staff being targeted, but as you know, these anarchists are starting to go out into the streets, and they are threatening American citizens. We're seeing that daily. And one other thing that we're seeing in relation to the hotels is sometimes they'll go after our tires, our vehicles, but also they go after the vehicles of anyone they think that is even associated with ICE. And sometimes American citizens wake up to find their vehicle tires slashed, damaged, and or vandalized.
Wow.
Okay, I mean, Proof? Source? Video? Photos? Haven't seen that.
You kind of got ahead of me there. That was what I wanted to ask you about. We've seen those videos all over social media of people showing while it's happening that people are harassing them in the parking lot of places. Maybe there's a Mexican restaurant there or something, and they see a car that's a white Tahoe and it's got Texas plates. So now all of a sudden they believe that's going to be ICE. It's kind of a...
Hold on, let's catch up with the chat here. Likely even ICE agents and anti-ICE protest groups to monitor them. Yeah, again, dude, you're talking about like 1 or 2, right? What are they monitoring if these are all just paid and feds? Then what would they even have to monitor? This would all be part of the plan, right? XNF says, just because I'm not in your idiotic tribalist cult doesn't mean I'm in some other idiotic tribalist cult. I don't know if that's... I think that's replying to Burn Slots. Yeah, I don't know. Be nice to each other, guys. Like, let's not... I mean, let's have discussion, but I don't think anybody's representing some tribalist cult here. Like, we're just trying to have conversations steeped in reality. That's what I'm trying to do, at least.
That they're just going around randomly attacking people that way. But since you addressed it, I want to ask you about this. I saw that you were on, I believe it was our network, talking about police officers that are local in Minneapolis and kind of making an appeal to them. Have you seen any of them wanting to come join Border Patrol or come be a part of the effort rather than stay in a city like that?
Sure, it's not just the Minneapolis Police Department, but several departments have expressed an interest.
They pay better. You don't have to follow rules. You don't have to show your identity. You're basically given carte blanche to do whatever the fuck you want with no fucking repercussions, and you get paid more.
You know, how do I apply? When can I apply? They want details on that. But Minneapolis, we're hearing a lot of incidental evidence that many of them are very interested or have already joined ICE and/or Border Patrol. And again, Joey, we welcome them. We welcome them with open arms. We support our law enforcement at Department of Homeland Security. So if any of them are even thinking about joining or wanting to join, again, I would be happy to meet with them personally. And we welcome them with open arms. We've got a mission to do. And I believe a lot of those police officers, that rank and file, understand what that mission is, and that's securing our cities and America.
And to wrap up on that, are you able to communicate with those local law enforcement leaders? Do you have...
Does anyone actually think that ICE is making you safer? I mean, come on. That's silly.
Conversations with them? Are they banned from communicating with you by the mayor? Is there any line of communication there whatsoever?
They're going after people that have lived here for 10 plus years, normal people, working jobs, paying taxes, not getting a tax return. Like, dude, illegal immigrants that were also criminals, there weren't that many of them. They already got them all. They got them all on day one.
The lines of communication are more at the grassroots level. Our Border Patrol agents and ICE officers do communicate with the rank and file very well. We all see eye to eye on the ground. As far as those senior leaders, not a lot of communication with the senior leaders, but you know, you've got the Mayor Fry there that's telling police to fight ICE and Border Patrol in the streets. So I can only imagine what those senior leaders are going through at the hands of leadership like that.
Wait, the mayor told police to fight ICE? Is that true? Is that true? Mayor Fry tells police to oh god, I can't fucking type. To fight ICE. Social media posts have distorted Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry's words to say he requested his own police to fight ICE. Oh, you mean he didn't actually say that? What? Oh my God. And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors. Huh. It doesn't sound like he's telling the cops to fight ICE, does it? Interesting. Sounds like citizens are asking the police to protect them from these new police that don't have to follow rules or have warrants or reasonable suspicion. XNF says, ICE does seem to be targeting the worst criminals, all while distracting the most brainwashed partisans, all at significant expense that might otherwise be spent to slaughter children on the other side of the world. Wow, so in your mind, ICE is saving children's lives. I'm sorry. Dude, if you have to fucking bend in that many awkward ways to say something nice about something, then maybe just reevaluate. Maybe just stop and reevaluate. And also, how does it seem that they're targeting the worst criminals? That's literally not. So they had documentation of people that were here illegally and had warrants. Okay? They got those people real quick. There weren't that many of them. Then they went after people that are here illegally and have a criminal past. Now they're going after people that they don't know about. They're just looking for people. They somehow had knowledge of a lot of the illegal immigrants here and just hadn't done anything about it. They ran out of those people. Now they're just accosting brown people, asking for their papers. How the fuck would you feel if a federal agent stopped you and demanded your papers just for no reason? That's not cool. Americans, we don't like that type of shit. We don't fucking like that type of shit.
Dangerous as that. Wow.
Greg David here. First of all, thanks for standing strong. You and all those officers out there. Please stay safe. Let's go to...
We're so sorry that, people aren't just letting you do whatever you want and just harass people and arrest people and kidnap people. We know that's really hard. We're sorry that, your agents are getting kicked out of the DoubleTree. That's terrible. That's un-American.
Jacob Fry, who's defending his refusal to cooperate with immigration officials. Watch this.
And by the way, we have partnered extensively with the federal government to get the perpetrators of violent crime off our streets, and we've seen great success in doing that. We don't partner to just yank random people off the street because they happen to look Latino or they happen to look Somali. The bottom line is, as we know, this is not about safety. It's not about crime. This is about intimidation. And in Minneapolis, we're not going to be intimidated.
So, Greg, is that an accurate description of what immigration officials are doing in the state?
No, it's not, and that's a flat-out lie. Mayor Fry knows that there's many individuals being held in those jails that are not turned over to ICE or Border Patrol, individuals that, when they're released on the streets, can continue to prey on Americans. So we've said from the very first day.
Oh, that's not what they're doing. They're actually just going after the people that are already in jail. That's why they're out on the streets looking for them. Instead of, I don't know, waiting outside the fucking jail? The fuck?
This operation and operations across the United States, let us into those jails, let us take those bad people off the streets before they can get out on the streets to harm Americans. They refuse, he refuses, they've always refused, and because of that, we're now, and we've said this for a year now, we're now in the communities taking those criminal illegal aliens off the streets. He doesn't seem to be able to get that through his head.
So you're looking for them. by profiling people and harassing them.
But I don't think he wants to get that through his head.
Commander, it's Alicia Acuna. Thank you for being here. And there's a picture, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a picture of protesters standing together, and it actually doesn't look too disruptive at the time, right now. However, our own Steve Harrigan was reporting that every time an ICE agent drives by, that they get bottles and chunks of ice thrown at them. And this week, a Biden-approved federal judge ruled that agents in Minnesota cannot use tear gas or pepper spray to disperse protesters and protect federal officers. How are agents on the ground dealing with this ruling?
Sure. And those protesters there, we have to keep a close eye on them. I believe there were several arrests already this morning where your scene just showed there. So as far as the less lethal munitions, we are able to utilize those. There's not a blanket ban on the utilization of those. We were already using, whether it was tear gas.
Hold on, let's see what the chat's saying. Oh boy, XNF. What? Okay, hold on. XNF says, if immigrant workers didn't so obviously serve corporate and imperial interests, this whole mass immigration thing could actually be seen as a strategy to thwart U.S. global aggression. What? I'm sorry, I agree. I mean, I'm also confused, bro. If immigrant workers didn't so obviously serve corporate and imperial interests, this whole mass immigration thing could actually be seen as a strategy to thwart U.S. global aggression. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say to that, because I really don't. I don't understand the first part, and I really don't understand the second part.
CS gas, pepper balls, pepper spray. We were already using that in accordance with the law. So we're going to continue to protect our officers, protect the public, protect those rioters even, believe it or not, with the use of less lethal. Folks, that's why we have less.
And protect the rioters, believe it or not. Pepper spraying these people is actually protecting them, believe it or not.
Using that in accordance with the law. So we're going to continue.
I mean, we're not shooting them to death. So, I mean, we're kind of protecting them from our own guns. Yeah.
To protect our officers, protect the public, protect those rioters even, believe it or not, with the use of less lethal. Folks, that's why we have less lethal. Listen to the name, less lethal.
Oh my God.
That's why we have those types of devices, because if we don't have those, then what do we resort to? So perhaps some of these
Why don't you resort to fucking off?
And these leaders need to take a look at why we have less lethal munitions, what a minimum amount of force necessary that truly is.
Nobody fucking wants you. Nobody wants you there. There's just a few dumb, bigoted people that support you. Everyone else fucking hates your guts. No one fucking wants you in their cities. So how about, instead of telling people they should be grateful for getting pepper sprayed instead of being shot, why don't you just fuck off?
Commander, lastly, I saw the video you were donning a traditional overcoat. I think that would be an excellent recruiting tool if you issued that to your rank and file. But beyond that, you weren't in tactical gear. You were in a traditional, almost uniform item. You were standing in front of your agents and walking, almost marching. It was quite the moment. What was the message?
He loves Nazis. And look, Hugo Boss designed Nazi uniforms. So it's not like he's totally fashionably illiterate, but it's clearly what he's going for.
You were sending in that moment.
Sure. That was actually Fox News' fault because I actually had a hit coming up with Fox News. But I do like to go to that federal facility, and I'm always out with the troops. So I happened to be there in a dress uniform. As far as the trench coat, the pea coat, the date May the 28th, 1924. May the 28th, 1924. That was when the Border Patrol was formulated. That's when that trench coat came about, and that's 101 years of history there. So it's a nice warm coat, also perfect for the conditions here in Minnesota. So I was glad to get out with those agents and officers and ensure that that Whipple building was safe for officers entering and leaving and that type of thing. So we're going to be out on the front lines with our Border Patrol agents. That's just the way we do it in the Border Patrol.
This is journalism, folks. Hey, I saw you in that super cool overcoat. Can you tell us about that? Cool.
Whether it's a dress uniform or a full rough duty uniform, we're going to be out there.
That's leadership.
Definitely leadership. A last question for you. President Trump has been toying with the idea of invoking the Insurrection Act. We're told he's kind of backing off of that. How bad do you think it needs to get before the president seriously considers that option?
President Trump and Secretary Noem, and we say this every day, are very focused, and they're very aware, more aware than I think any administration that I've ever worked for, and I've worked for a lot of them, very aware of what's going on the ground. Whether they talk to ICE Border Patrol leadership, they understand exactly what those parameters are on the ground. They're keeping a very close check of what's happening there. And, as far as these organized groups that attack law enforcement, what I've noticed here in Minnesota is they're very well organized, and that's something the President, Secretary Noem are looking at, that organization. They're a bit softer here in Minnesota than they were, say, in Chicago or Los Angeles, and I'm talking about the rioters themselves, very soft bunch. But we're keeping a close eye, but it's that organization. They're a bit better organized, but a lot softer. So we're going to keep a close eye on those softies, and President Trump, Secretary Noem.
The fuck? They're laughing at the protesters not being more violent and making fun of that? What the fuck? That doesn't even make sense. All right, X and F, let's make a good faith effort to understand what you're trying to say. Mass immigration itself causes large economic and social disruption. A population suddenly taking in a large number of refugees depletes its resources if there isn't significant economic elasticity available. But this began accelerating at the same time that fast food jobs were getting up to $20 an hour. So, are immigrants coming here and needing a bunch of money, or are they coming here and making a bunch of money? Like, are you saying that they have to be supported? Like, or are you just saying that they're coming here and working jobs? Because, yeah, I agree. They're working jobs. That's absolutely what's happening. And, dude, at this point, I mean, yeah, getting rid of all the immigrants is it's economically a fucking terrible idea. But I'm not really sure. Didn't you just, Bernslots asks XNF, didn't you just say it helps corporate interests? Yeah, corporations don't want to pay $20 an hour, so they bring in laborers that will accept less. Yeah. That is true. American businesses love immigrants. They can pay them less. Just like manufacturing, just like giant businesses love outsourcing all of their industry because it costs less than paying Americans a fair wage. So why the fuck aren't you mad at them? Isn't that who you should be mad at? That's who I'm mad at. Why are we mad at the immigrants? Why aren't we mad at the businesses that basically make all of this possible? And XNF also says, and imperialists are always happy to have more warm bodies, more taxable incomes, and more pressure on peons to get to work. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they get taxed, and they don't even get a tax return, so they get all that tax money from the immigrants. XNF, I'm very interested in what your thoughts on this whole ICE thing are, based on the fact that you seem to be somewhat aware of the reality of things. But unfortunately, I think I should get off. It's been 2 hours. XNF, burn slots, you guys are amazing. I just started doing this. I'm going to do this every day. Every day at 5 p.m. EST. So please tune in tomorrow. I would love to have you guys be part of the conversation again. I appreciate everybody keeping things civil, and hopefully we'll all just get smarter from this, right? If I do this every night, hopefully it'll just make me smarter and make anyone who's listening, we'll all just be better for it. That's the goal. I'm definitely not here trying to just get people to fight and stuff. So stream was great, sounded great. Dude, that's really good to hear. I just switched to this USB mic, so I hope it sounds all right. Thank you guys so much. I'll be on again tomorrow, 5 p.m. EST. The YouTube channel is Filthy Centrist. That's where these go. I edit them down a little bit and put them on the YouTube channel so that all of this can be documented forever. All right, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.